Well, I'm hitting the road in a few days and I'm going to do a road trip, and while we're traveling I want to be able to paint. Ordinarily I use this palette here, and then of course I've got a large range of brushes and I keep everything in a black attaché case. And it works pretty well for traveling locally, but this time I'm flying and I want to be able to have a little bit of a smaller kit so that if I want to I can paint even in the vehicle with my painting stuff on my lap. So I've pulled out an old palette. This is a folding palette, and I've cleaned it out as best I can. I'm gonna fill it up and bring that along. And I've got my favorite brush, and I'm only gonna bring one brush, and that's this Miller's Golden Fleece. It's a number 14 synthetic round brush. Again, the brand doesn't matter so much. I just like this size, and this is still new enough that it comes to a nice fine point, so I get good detail when I'm painting. You might ask why not a smaller brush, and I find really a brush doesn't take up a lot of space in a travel kit, so I'm gonna bring that one. It's my favorite, and yeah, like I said, it doesn't take up a lot of space, so no big deal there. And I had a genius idea when it comes to how to pack my paper, and I've got two of these plastic painting boards, and I always paint on these plastic boards. And what I've done is I've taken sheets of paper, and these are quarter sheets of Arches cold press, 140 pound, and I've just layered. I've got, I think, 5 on my board right now, and I've just laid one down. I'm going to throw another one on right now. And I'm going to tape all 4 sides. And this is small enough to fit in my suitcase. Flatter surface would probably be more helpful here. This is flat enough to fit in my suitcase, just in one of the pockets. And I'm also going to do a sheet, a smaller board that holds 5 by 7 inch paper. This is the one I would take outside while we're traveling, and if we stop somewhere, I can bring this one out to paint. If I'm in the vehicle, I'm going to have a smaller one of 5 by 7 paper taped down in the same way in layers. So the nice thing about this is when I finish a painting, I can just pull it right off, and I'll have a nice fresh piece underneath. And that one wanted to go a little crooked. There we go. And I can keep layering. I might put another couple sheets on, but really for the length of time I'm going to be gone, I think 5 or 6 sheets will probably be plenty. I'm also bringing along an Arches watercolor pad where I can tape those pages down as well, if I wish to. So we've got the palette, and I'm just going to fill that up right now. I'm still several days from traveling, so I have time to allow the paint, once I've filled my palette, to allow it to dry. And what I want to do is I want to do a mixture between my favorite basic colors and some really fun ones. So let's take a look here at what I have. I've got a bunch of new colors I could do too. Here's a Sap Green, deep Sap Green. We'll stick that in. That Sap Green is a really nice, useful green. And what I like to do is I'll put that color in. These Daniel Smith paints tend to be a little bit juicier, a little less firm than the Winsor paints. So I'll stick it in there, and then I can just kind of tap it like so, and then that green just spreads out and fills right into the corners there. Favorite gold, quinacridone gold. And my favorite colors are always changing, so if I find, right now I'm just going to use whatever my current favorites are and fill it right up. Can't go far without cobalt blue, so hopefully I had some in here. Raw Sienna is another one that I like, and at the same time I'm debating whether I want to put it in because I like it, but I'm not sure you know, when my space is limited, I want to be particular about what I put in. So let's take a look. We've got blue, we've got red, we've got yellow, we've got some green. Notice I haven't added any brown. I've found lately that I'm not using brown at all. I tend to mix my own. I still have some open spaces. I'm going to think about those for a couple days, and I can decide if I want to. Actually, here's one I'm going to add. Cobalt violet. Another fun color. Separated a bit in the tube. Then I can decide if I want to add anything else to this palette. But even at this stage, I mean, I have way more colors than I'm going to need. You can do a lot with just your 3 primaries. And everything else is just for fun. So let's take a look here. So for my painting kit, I've got my board, and I've got, I'll stick this underneath just in case it gets dirty. I've got my palette, I've got my brush. I'm going to bring a roll of tape along, and I'm going to bring a pencil and eraser, just in case. I've got to bring some containers for water, my spray bottle, and I'll probably fold up some squares of paper towel to bring along as well. Of course, if I'm traveling, I'll probably snag a restaurant napkin or two to use to soak my, or to dry my brush. I'm going to bring a good camera. And I really don't need anything else. Because I'm working on this board, I don't bring a easel or anything like that. I just work with what you see here to sit on the ground, sit on a rock, have everything on my lap, and it's right near at hand. And I expect to have a lot of fun. Hopefully I will be able to grab some time to paint during this holiday, and this won't be all packed in vain. So I'm actually back from my vacation, and I'm pleased to report that my travel painting kit actually worked quite well. Excuse the background noise, I have a son with a dirt bike, and apparently not enough insulation to keep the sound out. Anyhow, I just wanted to show you my painting kit. I'm very happy with how it worked because this little package right here, you know, is only a couple inches thick, and that's with the tape in there. And so it fit really well in my suitcase. I just opened the zipper pocket in the lid and slid it all right in there. And had my painting stuff on hand whenever I wanted to paint during our trip. And it worked really well just to paint beside the pool or at any place we happened to stop. A few things I don't have here that you see are, I generally would grab a couple paper cups from a hotel room or restaurant wherever we were traveling. So I had my water cups there. That was easy to grab. Paper towel, again, that was something else that I could pick up on the go, so I didn't worry about that. And I didn't even end up using my trusty spray bottle, which I generally do always have on hand in the studio. What you can see here is just a loop of elastic, and this is what I use to keep my whole kit together. I would just, you know, wrap it around the corners, twist it once, and it basically kept everything together, you know, well enough for me inside of my suitcase. There are probably, you know, I could have used more elastic and crisscrossed it more or figured out a different configuration probably, but this worked for me. The kit, a palette like this, it's a little bit sticky along the edge. A palette like this you don't want to close up if it's wet, but what I found was if I would paint in the afternoon, I could leave it open in the hotel room in the evening, and it would be dry enough by morning that I could close it up and pack it away again. And in fact, it got so dry that you could see one of the colors just popped right out. and just re-wetting that, it'll stick it right back in there. So that was all ready and on hand. I used a little masking tape to keep my brushes together. My biggest concern was keeping the bristles nice and straight, but I found that if I just had it tucked in here neatly, it tended to not rub against anything. And I probably could have just slipped it underneath this sheet of plastic as well, just to keep the bristles from being disturbed, but it was fine. I picked up these two brushes at Hobby Lobby on vacation, and they're just cheap brushes, but it was nice to have a brush with a nice point, because this one was starting to wear out. So I grabbed two new brushes just to give them a try. I find these are called Master's Touch, and then one's a round and one's a flat. I find the bristles to be very soft, softer than what I was used to in this one, but very nice enough for watercolor. I don't expect them to last long because they really weren't very expensive at all. And I ended up using both my smaller board and my larger one. In fact, I used almost all the paper on my large board and started on a 9x12 sheet from a Arches block that I brought along. And it was nice to have two different sizes along, although I preferred using the bigger papers. But having two different sizes meant I could start a larger painting and then work on a smaller one while layers dried. So it's nice to be able to have at least two boards where you can paint on the go. And then I'll just let you have a look at what I painted while I was gone. This is one from Sedona, Arizona. Again, plein air painting, don't expect amazing results. Really, you're just kind of exploring and learning to see your subject. So this isn't something I would frame or put in a gallery, but it was definitely a learning experience and a way of starting to understand a very different surroundings, because I'm on vacation, I'm in a place I'm not familiar with. Learning to paint these red rocks is going to take some time to figure out what color combinations go well with it and so forth. So that was one of them. Here's another one I painted on the beach. This was in San Simeon, California, beautiful spot. And this one I painted that actually at the very same time. I'd work on this one a little bit and then I'd go back to this little guy. So that was a good experience as well. Although it is a little uncomfortable sitting on rocks when you're painting, but that's all right. This is something I painted poolside, and really all I could see from that particular hotel pool was the palm trees, and so those were fun to paint. Amazing silhouettes you can get when you're painting palms. This is Sedona, Arizona again, and I think this was from a reference photo. Later on I worked on it in my hotel room, and yeah, just more learning to see a new landscape, which is a lot of fun. And this was just playing with color, and I really didn't have an end result in mind, which is never a good idea. It's always a good idea to have some kind of vision of what you're going to create. Not really very thrilled about this piece at all, but even when you're just playing with something that's not going to be fantastic, you learn a lot about how color reacts, how much water to use, and things like that. This one I'm very happy with. This is California as well, I believe San Simeon again, and just a beautiful evening sunset on the beach. I'm pretty pleased with that, and that will go on my inspiration wall for a while until I decide whether or not I should frame it. And then some cactus flower, prickly pear from Arizona, and this one isn't finished, obviously. So I had a lot of fun painting on my trip, and I encourage you to find a way to make your art supplies portable so that you can bring them with you when you travel. Even if what you're making doesn't end up being something you're going to frame or feel professional about, or even keep in the end, it's painting on location is sure a good way to learn to see your environment in a different way than you would, and help you to remember the details of what you're seeing, so that it's not just a matter of trying to remember what you saw once you're back home in your studio.